another story. Would you like that? I thought you might. Well, you know what? I think we need a very special story today. And I think to help us choose our story, we'll look for some clues. Now I've got 3 clues that will help us choose a story. Let's have a look, shall we? Are you ready? Okay. This is a tricky one, I think. Do you know what this is? It's a light bulb. A light bulb. This light bulb is not on. What happens when the lights go out at your house? Does it get dark? I wonder if sometimes you feel a bit nervous when it gets dark. It's always nice when the lights are on, isn't it? It's okay in the dark too. This light is not giving us any light. It's an interesting clue for our story. I'll put this safely over here. You need to be very careful with lights. Let's have a look for our second clue. Yummy! It's a packet of jelly. Do you like jelly? Oh, I like jelly. It's really yummy. It goes wibbly, wobbly, doesn't it? You know, sometimes if you're feeling a bit worried, your tummy might feel a bit jittery and shaky. Your tummy might feel like it's got jelly in it. Wibbly wobbly. You might say, oh, my belly feels like jelly. That's a clue for our story. Jelly and a light. There's one more clue here. This one's a bit tricky. Have a look. It's a dog lead. Do you think there's a dog at the end? Let's have a look. There's a knot. And, there is not a dog at the end of this lead. Wonder where it is. Do you know where the dog is? So we've got no dog, jelly, and a light that's not working. I think I know which story to read to you today. Let's have a look at my pile. Got some good ones here, but today's story is this one. Fearlessly Madison. What's on the front cover? Let's have a look. That must be Madison. Do you think she looks very happy? No, I don't think so either. She looks a bit worried, doesn't she? And, oh look! Here's the dog that's supposed to be at the end of my lead. He looks like a nice dog. I wonder what this story is going to be about. Shall I read it to you? This is another story that I wrote. The pictures for this book were done by a lady called Jemima Trapple. There's a Bible verse at the start of this book. It says, "Even when I am afraid, I will keep trusting you. I will praise your promises. I trust you and am not afraid. No one can harm me." Those are verses talking about God. They're from the Bible. Fearlessly Madison. It was a windy afternoon when Mum dropped Madison and Molly off for a play at Grandma's house. It was so windy that Madison didn't even notice the dog. "This is Ferdinand," Grandma explained. Madison eyed Ferdinand from the bottom of the stairs. Ferdinand eyed Madison back. Madison's belly trembled like raspberry jelly. Have you ever had that happen to you? Me too. "I'm not staying," Madison announced, and she hid her jelly belly behind Mum's legs. But Grandpa scooped Madison into his arms for a cuddle and shooed Mum into the car. "Don't be afraid, Madison," Grandpa said. "God's still here. God's still good. And Ferdinand's just a sook of a puppy who needs a new home." They went outside, out of the wind, and Grandpa set Madison down in the kitchen. "Would you like to make honey crackles with me?" Grandma asked. Madison shook her head. She did not feel like cooking, not with Ferdinand watching. Instead, she helped Grandpa build towers and played peekaboos until Molly was due for her nap. And then she and Grandpa went outside to find some paint. Grandpa's shed stood at the base of the garden. It was dark and shaky, and the tools rattled on their hooks. I wonder, can you see the dog in this picture? Can you see him? Looks a bit stormy, doesn't it? Come on, said Grandpa, holding the door open. Madison didn't move. Her knees felt like melted cheese. She wished she'd stayed inside with Grandma and the patty pans. I'm not coming, Madison announced, and she hid her cheesy knees behind the strawberry pot. But Grandpa gathered Madison up onto his back. Don't be afraid, Madison, Grandpa said. God's still here, and God's still good, even in my dark and shaky shed. Holding Madison high so she could see, Grandpa pointed into the deepest, darkest corner. Can you see? Asked Grandpa. Can you see? What can you see? Look at that. Madison and the possum family watched each other while Grandpa chose his paint. They could hear the rain approaching as it rushed over rooftops towards them. Little drops landed first, then big fat ones. They plopped on Madison's nose and splashed off Grandpa's head. Run, shouted Grandpa. They arrived, laughing and dripping all over Grandma's clean floor. I wonder where Ferdinand is, Grandpa said as he dried himself with a tea towel. I wonder where Grandma is, Madison said. The lights began to flicker, once, twice, and then, just as another crack of thunder shook the house from top to bottom, the lights flickered off. Madison and Grandpa looked at each other in the darkness. Don't be afraid, Madison, Grandpa began. But before he could finish, the back door slammed and a scratching, scurrying sound darted past them with the smell of wet dog. Madison's belly went to jelly. Her knees melted like cheese. She squeezed Grandpa's hand as tight as she could. That might be Ferdinand, said Grandpa. It wasn't Grandma, said Madison. Madison and Grandpa tiptoed down the hall, past the bathroom and the lounge. Molly was sound asleep in her cot. The study was empty, and there was no one in Grandma's room. Or was there? Madison leaned down and lifted the end of the bedspread. Grandma? Grandma didn't look so good. Neither did Ferdinand. Does your belly feel like jelly? Asked Madison. Are your knees melting like cheese? Oh, yes, Madison, Grandma whimpered. I don't like storms. Madison lay on the rug and took a deep breath. She eyed Ferdinand. Ferdinand eyed her back. Then Madison wriggled under the bed. Don't be afraid, Grandma, Madison said. God's still here, and God's still good, even in the dark, with a wet dog in the middle of a storm. By the time Molly awoke from her nap, Mum and Dad came back, and all the storm was almost over. Everyone was in the kitchen making honey crackles, even Ferdinand the dog. Did you like that story? It's a fun one, isn't it? Can you remember what Madison says to her grandma? She said, don't be afraid, because God's still here and God's still good. You remember that this week. No matter what happens, God's still here and He's always good. See ya.